फिगर में फेस राउंड कर रहा है बस।
सेकेंड फेज में समझा नहीं मैं।
सेकंड फिगर जो हेड का है ना सर, उसका बात कर रहा हूँ।
ये वाला। अच्छा एक मिनट एक मिनट, ओके नेक्स्ट स्क्रीन की आप बात कर रहे हैं ना, यहाँ पे यहाँ किसी पर्टिकुलर स्क्रीन की बात कर रहे हैं, किसी पर्टिकुलर फेस की बात कर रहे हैं। So no worries, we'll be starting and we'll be taking it side by side. So today, so last time we studied about last time we studied about what are the different stakeholders, what are the different people who are involved in the user-centered design process, what is the purpose of creating a user-centered design, and how do we go about it, right? So today we'll be taking a little more idea on how does behavior and psychology affects the design, because whenever we talk about design, it is not only related to just one thing, like I created a screen, हमने कोई screen बना दिया, ये वहीं तक limited नहीं है, इसमें बहुत कुछ और भी होता है, which is particularly coming from behavior and psychology, like how do people behave towards certain things, कोई कैसे behave करता है किसी चीज़ के तरफ, और प्री बिल्ट साइकोलॉजी कैसे उस पर एक्ट करती है, राइट? एंड वेन एवर वी से दैट वी आर क्रिएटिंग अ यूज़र सेंटर्ड प्रोजेक्ट्स और यूज़र सेंटर्ड सॉल्यूशंस, सो वी हैव टू टेक the consideration of this human behavior or human psychology to help make sure that whatever solution in the form of application, website, web apps, or a standalone application or integration service based platform, whatever we are creating as a design solution, it is complying to the behavior, how people behave and react towards certain things, and how people go about it, right? So in that way we go ahead and do it, right? So we'll try to understand this part only today. So let other people, like I think Surbi and Arpita are going to join. Let them join. Till then we can go a little slowly. So before moving ahead, I would like to understand, is there anything that you want to understand from the previous session of Tuesday? Is there anything that you want to clarify? Yes, no? कोई भी ऐसी चीज़ जो नहीं क्लियर हो, जो आपको पूछनी हो, कोई भी ऐसी चीज़? यस, नो?
सर वो एम्फेसाइज फिर से कर दिया।
क्या चीज़? एक बार फिर से बोलिए आप।
एम्फेसाइज एम्फेसाइज
एम्फेसाइज फेज, एम्पैथाइज, ओके। सो एम्पैथाइज आपको समझना है दोबारा से। So empathize is that state in which हम understand, we try to understand that कि हमारा यूज़र क्या क्या प्रॉब्लम फेस कर रहा है, हम उसके पर्सपेक्टिव से हम चीज़ों को समझने की कोशिश करते हैं, क्योंकि हम भी जो भी चीज़ बनाएंगे, एप्लीकेशन या डिज़ाइन जो भी कुछ बनाएंगे, और पहले हमें उसे समझना पड़ेगा, राइट? हमें समझना पड़ेगा कि यूज़र को प्रॉब्लम क्या क्या हो रही है, क्या रीज़न है उस प्रॉब्लम का, और क्या सोच रहा है यूज़र, क्या करता है यूज़र, राइट? उसका डे टू डे जर्नी कैसा है, चीज़ों को कैसे इंटरेक्ट कर रहा है, वो सारा बिहेवियर जब हम समझते हैं तो उस फेज़ को पर्टिकुलरली हम एम्पैथाइज करना कहते हैं, ठीक है? लाइक एम्पैथाइज का लिटरल मीनिंग है पुटिंग योर सेल्फ इन कस्टमर शूज़, so that is the actual meaning of empathizing. But in context of design, empathizing means more than just that two lines. ठीक है, समझ में आया?
ओके सर।
ठीक है, आगे हम चलेंगे तो और बताएंगे. So today we'll be talking about design for human behavior and how does behavior and psychology affect the design. So whenever we talk about this behavior or psychology, so there are few things that come up, which is particularly archetypes. So archetypes are very important things which come up in the design process, right? And these archetypes are nothing but द ट्रेट्स ऑफ द पर्सनालिटीज, जैसे कोई अग्रेसिव होता है, some people are introvert, some people are extrovert, some people are like some people look like mysterious, some people take extra care of people, some people like to dominate, some people are creative. So these traits of personalities are actually called archetypes, right? So archetypes are actually inborn tendencies, ये naturally exist करती है हर एक पर्सन में, राइट? अगर जैसे आपके फ्रेंड हो सकता है आपको बोलते हैं कि अरे यू आर वेरी इंट्रोवर्ट, और मे बी यू आर वेरी एक्सट्रोवर्ट, you like to do things, you like to play music, so your personality reflects that is why they are saying it, and that personality trait is called archetypes, ठीक है? एंड इट इज़ अ नेचुरल ऑकरिंग थिंग, ये सारी कुछ चीज़ें जो होती हैं नेचुरल होती हैं हर एक इंसान में, ठीक है? वो कहीं से आती नहीं है, वो नेचुरली धीरे धीरे ओवर द टाइम डेवलप हो जाती हैं, ठीक है? और whenever so now that we are talking about archetypes, it is important to understand that how does these archetypes help to create the design or create or implement any kind of design. So let's say जब भी आप रिसर्च करने गए, so you met a very introvert person. So whenever you meet an introvert person, they will not be able to express themselves very well, right? So so whenever you say that that person is not able to express themselves very well, so there will be other methods or other ways through which they will be able to express, right? They will be able to write something, they will be able to maybe like tell something in a different way, in a creative way. So हर एक इंसान के हर चीज़ करने का तरीका अलग अलग हो सकता है, जो कि उसके पर्सनालिटी पे डिपेंड कर सकता है, ठीक है? एंड दैट इज़ ड्यू टू द आर्केटाइप्स। एंड व्हेन वी टेक दीज ट्रेट्स इनटू द डिज़ाइन प्रोसेस, जब हम इन चीज़ों के लिए हम एड्रेस करते हैं डिज़ाइन सॉल्यूशन में, तब वहाँ पे आर्केटाइप्स का वैल्यू क्रिएट होता है, ठीक है? जैसे कि फॉर एग्ज़ाम्पल let's take an example where I am interviewing a person who is very angry in nature, like he is a very aggressive person in nature, like विराट कोहली को सब जानते हो, you know that he is aggressive in nature, right? So if I am creating a design solution for that kind of person, so I have to make sure I am including the elements which make that person calm, right? I would not try to make anything in the experience in the way that irritates him or that irritates the person. Let's say for an example, let's say Amazon का ऐप है, ठीक है? और आपको कोई चीज़ उसमें से ऑर्डर करनी है, ठीक है? एक अमेज़ोन का ऐप है, उसमें से आपको कोई एक चीज़ ऑर्डर करनी है, और नॉर्मली वो 10 सेकंड लगता है ऑर्डर करने में। आपने ऐड टू कार्ट किया, ठीक है? ऐड टू कार्ट किया, आप गए पेमेंट स्क्रीन पे सारे डिटेल एंटर किया, और ऐसे करके आपने 10 सेकंड में वो पूरा प्रोसेस कंप्लीट कर लिया, ठीक है? ये नॉर्मल इंसान की बात हो गई। Suppose someone is there who is very relentless, and he cannot wait for 10 seconds even. So as a designer, it becomes our responsibility, can we improve that experience and make it down to, or give that person an option to execute that same thing in a lesser time, right? So अगर वही सेम चीज़ हम यूज़र को हम इनेबल करें 5 सेकंड में करने के लिए, तो wouldn't it make the user experience better? Wouldn't it make the functionality better, and it will impact the overall user experience of the application or a product? Yes or no? ऐसा होगा कि नहीं? समझ रहे हो आप सब लोग, like what I am trying to say?
Sir.
Yeah. So whenever we try to address these things, these personality traits in the solution, it will eventually lead to improving of the user experience, right? And when we do it, the overall functionality or the feature of the application that we are developing or the designing gets enhanced drastically, which will eventually create an impact in the user's life or user's daily routine of doing certain things, right? So that is about like the role of archetypes in the design, right? This related link I already shown you, right? So till this point, let me know if you all are like in line of whatever I said. Did you all understand the point of user psychology and behavior? सबको समझ में आया बिहेवियर और साइकोलॉजी का
So,
कैसे इफेक्ट होता है?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now what we will be doing is we have learned about the design process. We have learned about design thinking framework. We got to learn about user centered design. How does it happen? What are the different people who are involved in the user centered design process? What is the iterative process of design? We have understood the psychology and behavior aspect of the design, right? Now we'll be starting with the actual process of creating the design. So we'll be starting with the research part, and then we'll be executing with the help of application design or website design or whatever type of design you want to create. We'll be discussing all those things, and whatever problem statement you have selected, जो भी problem statements आपने select किया हुआ है, we'll be taking that further, and then we'll be helping you out to complete that and make that into a proper project. So we'll be doing the prototyping of it. We'll be creating the micro interactions, animation of the UI application that you are going to create. Everything based on the guidelines. We'll be studying the design system, everything. So this will all come into one process which we are going to study, which is the 6D UX process, right? Which will be called as 6D UX process. So whenever we say that we are following a process, we are actually talking about a workflow. एक काम करने के तरीके को हम बोलते हैं कि yes, we are following this process, and this is creating our workflow, the way of doing things, right? So what is actually UX process, 6D UX process? So actually, whenever we talk about 6D UX process, so these 6 Ds are defined into different kind of phases in the design process, right? So just try to compare it with the design thinking process that we have understood. So first is the discover phase that you can align with the help of empathize phase. So what can happen in discover phase or empathize phase? So we can utilize focus group discussions. We can do usability audits, interviews or surveys, gap assessment, usability goal check, requirements gathering. So this is all comes under the discover phase, and this aligns perfectly with the empathize phase of the design framework that we have studied. Okay, so it is not necessary that you follow all these points which are mentioned here in the discover thing. It is depending on what kind of work that you are doing. Suppose that if you are creating everything from scratch, so maybe you will go ahead with the interviews, finding and defining your user groups, finding and defining the people for whom you are creating the things, and that will lead to creating like doing the interviews or surveys, right? And maybe focus group sometime. Usability audit is not done if you are creating something from very scratch. That is done when there is a already existing application. जब कोई already existing app होता है पहले से, उसको आप improve करते हो, then these usability audits or heuristic evaluations come into play to understand what are the irregularities in the application, what are the irregularities in the existing design which is there, right? And how do we
I have a question.
Yes.
Is usability audit and heuristic evaluation, are they exactly the same, or is there any difference?
There's slight differences. Usability audit can
Okay.
have a different like parameters. Heuristic
Okay.
evaluation doesn't have any parameter. So there are 10 usability heuristics which are defined already. So you try to
Okay.
map everything with the help of that. And when I say about usability audits, so usability audits happens to be in that case where you already define a use case with the help of which you want to validate the current design. Let's say for an example, let's say booking a cab from Uber app, right? So that kind of simple things can fall under usability audits. So now if I talk about usability audits and booking a cab from the Uber app, so I will try to understand, okay, So these are some of the tasks that I want to validate in Uber app. So first thing is booking a cab. Second thing is adding money to my wallet. Third is like going to the customer service and taking help. Maybe three usability like test I want to conduct here, right? So this will be very different from the heuristic evaluation of the things, right? This is more related to towards this more aligns towards the usability testing. Like usability audit or usability testing can go hand in hand, but not the heuristic evaluation and the usability audit. Got the idea? Yes? No?
So I'm so sorry, my laptop got hanged, so I was not able to unmute myself.
Okay.
Actually, I don't know, like due to some connection problem, I think I missed a part in between. So,
Okay.
like where you were sharing the difference.
Okay, so I'll go through it again. So
Okay,
whenever we
thank
say
you.
about usability audits, we take up any use cases which we want to validate in the existing solution or existing design of the application, right? For an example, in Uber app, I want to test that whether I'm able to book a cab easily, whether I'm able to add funds into my wallet, or maybe if I'm able to contact to customer service, right? This simple task can be that's these kind of simple tasks can fall in the usability audits. While if I have to say about heuristic evaluation, so heuristics are mostly 10 different principles like visibility of system status, match between system and real world, user control and freedom, error prevention, recognition rather than recall, flexibility and efficiency of use, aesthetic and minimal design, help users recognize the nogs and like recover from errors or help in documentation. So these are the 10 heuristic principles. Like anyone if they want to like search on it, it is like publicly available. We'll go through it whenever we are auditing our wireframe. That place will be doing our usability or like heuristic audits of the design that we are creating. Okay, so we are just discussing because Gaura had this like asked about the difference between usability and heuristics. So that's why we are covering it here. But let me know, Gaura, like if your confusion is clear. Yes? No?
Yes, sir, I understood.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions from anyone else before we move on to the second part? Yes, Himanshu, Arpita, Surbhi, Sashi.
No, sir.
Okay. So now coming on to the second part, which is the defining phase, which also aligns with the design thinking process. So in define phase, what we do is we define the problems or we define the actual things to work upon with the help of different methods, of which it can be brainstorming, user profiling, storyboarding, creative direction, requirements definition, or user experience definition. So this would mainly be helpful for ideating what kind of solution that we want to create or what kind of problems that are there, and we try to categorize it and define it. Okay, so that we will be doing in the define ways. Now third part, which is called as design in the 6D process, that like levels up with the ideation part in the design thinking process, which might contain wireframing, prototyping, functional design brief, or design concepts or visual design. Right? Apart from this, more thing can be like defining user case scenarios or defining opportunity areas or how might be situations in which we are actually ideating what kind of features of or the development that we have to create, right? Now fourth one, which comes is the development part. So this is very particular towards the coding part, which we are not going to cover here because we are only concerned of design here. But if you have any questions, but if you have in case any questions regarding to the regarding the coding part that might come from your own interest, I would be happy to adjust to that as well, like how the developer hands off are done. How do you create the style guides? The style guides we'll be covering anyways, and we'll be taking help of UI specification with the help of already defined design systems which are there. So we'll be taking one thing at a time, and we'll let you understand everything one by one, right? Develop fifth phase is deploying those designs, UI assessment and standards, compliance check, accessibility testing, user training, expert evaluation. So here what we'll be doing, we'll be mostly doing the usability testing in the deploy phase, and just doing the usability audits, usability testing, maybe wizard of Oz testing is there to understand and test out the design that we created, right? And sixth and last part is the drive. So it is mostly related to the maintenance part of the design that you have created, right? Maintenance part of the design that you have created, which is not much relevant here because it is utilized when your design is developed fully, it is coded fully, and it is functional, it is deployed. Then there is a need of maintenance, right? So of this particular 6 phases, we'll be taking the whole design process mainly towards these 4 particular parts of the 60, which is discover, define, design, and deploy or deliver, right? So the pretty much all the design parts will be covered in these 4 stages without missing anything. So whatever things we are not covering is the development part, which is there in the 6D process. So 6D process is relevant to the complete product creation life cycle which is there. But if you have any questions, let me know, right? Sorry. So till this point, everyone is clear what is the 6D process and what are the things associated in the 6D process? Yes, no? Is everyone clear on this part?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, everyone? सभी लोग
Yes,
clear
sir.
है? ठीक है. So now coming on to the defining of the brief. So मैंने सबको प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट्स दिए थे, याद है? मैंने सेलेक्ट करने के लिए बोला, सबने सेलेक्ट कर लिया अपना प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट. इट इज़ बेसिकली दैट वी आर टेकिंग दैट पॉज टू स्टार्ट विद द डिज़ाइन प्रोसेस. सो आई वांट टू मेक श्योर कि सबने अपना अपना प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट सेलेक्ट कर लिया है. एंड इट इज़ इम्पॉर्टेंट सो दैट यहाँ से आप अपना काम स्टार्ट कर सको साथ में और उसको एग्जीक्यूट कर सको, ठीक है? किसी को लाइक 5 लोग में से किसी को कोई प्रॉब्लम हो रहा है, एनी वन इज़ फेसिंग एनी इशू in terms of finalizing or selecting the problem statement, or if you want to select any particular problem statement but you don't know how to go about it, let me know. So these 5 minutes we are just talking about it, and I'll help you sort it out. Yes, सबने सेलेक्ट कर लिया अपना प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट? Speak up, students, speak up. Like, just let me know. Like, if you are not speaking, I will never get to know what is happening. Yes, सुरभि, आपने क्या प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट सेलेक्ट किया है?
Yes, sir. Learning activity platform cockpit.
Okay. And about Arpita, what have you selected, Arpita?
Yes, sir. I've selected the health one.
Okay, the third one. Okay, Himanshu.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Health. Yes, sir.
हिमांशु, आपने कौन सा सेलेक्ट किया है?
The health issue.
हेल्थ इश्यूज. ओके. गौरव? हेलो गौरव, आपने क्या सेलेक्ट किया है? व्हाट डिड यू सेलेक्ट? शशि?
climate change, sir.
Okay. Okay. Gora, are you there? Okay. So any one of you is facing any problem in understanding the brief? कोई understanding का issue हो रहा हो समझने में कि क्या करना है? Any particular thing that you are facing issue with? Like I can see 3 people, Surbhi, Arpita and Himanshu have selected the health related brief, right? Am I right?
No, sir. No, sir. I am selected a learning activity platform for kids.
Learning activity. Okay. Learning activity for Surbhi, climate change for Sashi, Arpita and Himanshu have selected the health related brief. Okay. Gora. Okay. So okay, like in these 3 kind of briefs, these 3 kind of problem statement, are you facing any issues? Like any questions you have before we move on to the research part, starting with the research part? Yes, no?
सर क्लाइमेट चेंज में एम्फेसाइज नहीं कर पा रहे सर.
ठीक है. क्लाइमेट चेंज में एम्पैथाइज करने का एक मेथड क्या हो सकता है? फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल क्या हो सकता है कि आप सेकेंडरी रिसर्च करो. सेकेंडरी रिसर्च बोले तो आर्टिकल्स पढ़ो नेट पे. ये दो रिसर्च हमेशा 2 तरह का होता है, एक सेकेंडरी होता है, एक प्राइमरी होता है. ठीक है, तो हमेशा सेकेंडरी रिसर्च से स्टार्ट करते हैं. पहले तुम्हें आइडिया होना चाहिए कि हम क्या करने जा रहे हैं, क्या चीज़ टारगेट करेंगे. ठीक है, उसके लिए थोड़े आर्टिकल पढ़ो क्लाइमेट चेंज में क्या करना चाहते हो. ठीक है, उससे एक डायरेक्शन मिलेगा कि हाँ लाइक मे बी तुम लाइक ट्रीज लाइक सेविंग ट्रीज़ के तरफ जाना चाहते हो, या फिर वाटर कंजर्वेशन की तरफ जाना चाहते हो, या फिर स्पेस मैनेजमेंट की तरफ जाना चाहते हो. किस तरीके से जाना चाहते हो उसके लिए तुम्हें थोड़ा आर्टिकल स्टडी करना पड़ेगा कि क्या प्रॉब्लम एग्जिस्ट कर रहा है, अभी लोग किस चीज़ से डील कर रहे हैं समझ इन दैट वे. ठीक है, वो तुम्हें क्लैरिटी देगा कि हाँ ये प्रॉब्लम एरिया मैं ले सकता हूँ क्लाइमेट चेंज के पर्सपेक्टिव में. ठीक है, जब ये डिफाइन कर लोगे देन यू गो हैड विद द इंटरव्यूइंग ऑफ पीपल. इंटरव्यू तब करो लोगों के, तुम्हें आइडिया आराम से वो हो जाएगा. ठीक है, कोई इशू वहाँ पे?
नो सर.
ठीक है, और किसी
सर
को?
जैसे हम ग्लोबल
बोलो.
वार्मिंग पर ठीक है सर.
ठीक है, ग्लोबल वार्मिंग. तो जैसे देखो
उसको
अभी ग्लोबल
define-
वार्मिंग की बात करोगे तो ग्लोबल वार्मिंग का इफेक्ट के ऊपर काम करोगे ना. ग्लोबल वार्मिंग के ऊपर अकेले तुम एक प्रोजेक्ट नहीं बना सकते हो. ठीक है, ग्लोबल वार्मिंग का जो इफेक्ट हो रहा है चीज़ों पे, उसको मिटिगेट करने के लिए, उसको रिड्यूस करने के लिए कोई तुम सॉल्यूशन बनाओगे, है ना. या जैसे ग्लोबल वार्मिंग का क्या इफेक्ट हो सकता है, जैसे हो सकता है कोस्टल एरियाज़ में लाइक सी लेवल अप हो रहा है, सी लेवल ऊपर जा रहा है. उसके लिए क्या कर सकते हो? ग्लोबल वार्मिंग से टेरेस्ट्रियल वेजिटेशन, जो टेरेस्ट्रियल पॉपुलेशन है वो कम हो रही है, उसके लिए कुछ कर सकते हो, है ना. मैप बेस्ड इंटरफेसेस कर सकते हो, जैसे कि जंगल्स में या फिर रिवर्स का जो है अनसर्टेन हो जाता है, कभी नदियों में पानी रहता है नहीं रहता है, वो सारा इफेक्ट ग्लोबल वार्मिंग का ही तो है. सीजनल चेंज होते हैं, उसको कैसे मतलब वो उसको हैंडल कर सकते हो. ये सारे इफ़ेक्ट हैं ग्लोबल वार्मिंग के. इस तरीके से बहुत सारे इफ़ेक्ट और भी होंगे, उनमें से तुम पिक करो कि तुम ईजिली किस पे काम कर सकते हो. ठीक है,
Okay, sir.
समझ में आया? तो ग्लोबल
Yes, sir.
वार्मिंग एक बहुत बड़ा अम्ब्रेला है, उनमें से तुम्हें डिफाइन करना पड़ेगा कि उसमें से तुम्हें क्या लेना है. ठीक है, और उसी पे प्रोडक्ट बनाया जा सकता है. एक बड़े चीज़ के लिए एक चीज़ नहीं बनाया जा सकता है, छोटी छोटी चीज़ें बनाते हैं हम और फिर उसको सॉल्व करते हैं. ठीक है,
Okay, sir.
एनीवन एल्स? हिमांशु, अर्पिता, सुरभि, गौरा? सभी क्लियर है क्या करना है?
Yes, sir.
ठीक है, लेट्स मूव फॉरवर्ड. सो आपने जो भी प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट सेलेक्ट किया है, वट एवर प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट यू हैव सेलेक्टेड, सो दैट हैज़ अ फॉर्मेट एक्चुअली. लाइक फॉर एन एग्जाम्पल, यहाँ पे एक प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट दिया हुआ है, और उसको कैसे लिखते हैं, एक प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट को कैसे लिखते हैं वो यहाँ पे मैंने बताया हुआ है. ठीक है, तो जो भी प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट आपको मिला है हेल्थ रिलेटेड, और मे बी क्लाइमेट चेंज रिलेटेड, और मे बी द एजुकेशन और एडुटेनमेंट प्लेटफॉर्म के लिए मिला है, तो वो एक्चुअली आपका प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट है. ठीक है, अब जब हम बात करते हैं प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट की, उससे एसोसिएटेड बहुत सारी चीज़ें होती हैं. तो सबसे पहला पार्ट जो होता है आपके डिज़ाइन प्रोसेस का, वो होता है रिसर्च. ठीक है, बिना रिसर्च के आप डिज़ाइन पे नहीं पहुंच सकते. तो उस रिसर्च को करने के लिए कोई स्टार्टिंग पॉइंट चाहिए आपको, है ना. तो उसको करने के लिए जब आपको स्टार्टिंग पॉइंट चाहिए, तो वहाँ पे कैसे स्टार्टिंग पॉइंट मिलेगा आपको, पहले आपको डिफ़ाइन करना पड़ेगा कि क्या एक प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट जो आपने पिक किया उसमें से पर्टिकुलरली आपको क्या करना है. जब पहली चीज़ हो गई प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट जो आपको ऑलरेडी मिल चुकी है, तो एक पहला पार्ट डिफाइन हो गया वहाँ पे. लाइक फर्स्ट पार्ट इज ऑलरेडी डिफाइंड देयर. नाउ कमिंग ऑन टू द सेकेंड पार्ट in the problem statement, which is the problem space. जैसे कि we were just talking about Shashi's problem statement that he wants to do something around global warming, right? So I said that in global warming there are so many different kinds of effects which are happening due to global warming, right? So those small things are actually problem spaces. Let's say I want to work around sea level rise, some project around it, so that is the problem space, one problem space. Now deforestation and like soil erosion can be one problem space that I want to focus on. Or maybe some population decrease of these like fauna, like flora and fauna, what we call the population decrease of animals which is happening with the reason of global warming, that can be a problem space. So ऐसे अपने जो भी आपने डोमेन सेलेक्ट किया उसके अंदर छोटे छोटे प्रॉब्लम स्पेसेस होंगे. So that you have to define, that is the first thing. Then what you have to define is target users, that for which kind of people you are actually creating the solution. So after that you have got the problem statement, then you will define a problem space. Then you will define who are our target users, who are our user groups, for whom we want to create the solution, or to whom we want to conduct the research on, right? So when we start doing this, then few questions or few triggers will come, like who are these people, right? What we are trying to understand, what we are trying to create, right? When in what way, or when is the time in which we want to bring the user in the picture, and how we are going to create the solution. So who, what, when and how. So mainly out of this, who, what and how, who, what and why will be the three major directions which will give you answer of who will be your possible target users, what is the thing that you are going to create, and how you will create it. Okay, so in this way you will be able to define target users जिनके ऊपर आपको रिसर्च करना है और जिनके लिए आपको प्रोजेक्ट बनाना है. ठीक है, then after that two more things will come, which is user story. User story would be formed around like what is the current experience of the user. अभी यूज़र क्या फेस कर रहा है उसको अच्छे से डिकोड करना, that would be first option. And then based on that user story, what product or what solution you are creating, that would be the final thing. So based on these four particular things, you can define that how do you want to do the research, what will be the outcome of the research, what can be a possible outcome of the research can be, and how you want to take it further. ठीक है, any questions till this point? Any questions you have? Yes, no?
No, sir.
सभी को क्लियर है?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now let's start with the research. So after we have defined this, we can start with the research, right? So let's understand what like why do we actually conduct the research? Because as a person what we generally do is we go on what our opinion is regarding different things, right? And whenever we create things based on our opinion, that might be a fail, because might be a possibility that what I am thinking you are not thinking, right? And maybe what you are thinking I am not thinking. So we will be never on the same page, right? And to make sure that we all are on the same page and we are actually talking of the customer or talking about the user for which we are creating the design for, we have to validate things. We have to define things, specific things, which brings all of us on the same page first of all, and make sure that these are the problems which we are going to solve together. And for that we need to conduct a research based on which we can create some points, right? Got the idea? सबको समझ में आया क्या बोला मैंने?
Yes, sir.
So whenever we talk about the research, you have to understand the point that you are not the user, right? So because you are not the user, so first thing that you have to do is first you have to understand the user. Who is the user that you are talking about, right? And this research helps in understanding that what your user wants, who your users are, and what do you want to do for your users, right? So for an example, let's consider that a blind person is there and he wants to utilize touch screen smartphones, right? So if I have to say that you have to create touch screen smartphone for a blind person, what would be the first approach that you will follow? क्या अप्रोच आप फॉलो करोगे उसको बनाने के लिए? सबसे पहली चीज़ क्या करोगे आप? Over to you. Like, come up with as much thoughts as possible. Like if you have to create a smartphone for a blind person, what is the first thing that you will be doing? सबसे पहली चीज़ क्या करोगे?
A keyboard with braille script on it.
Okay, keyboard with braille script on it. और क्या कर सकते हैं? Like, think of the starting point. Starting point क्या होगा तुम्हारा? मैंने पूछा कि okay, what would you do first if you had to design a new smartphone for blind person? How will you go about it? Nothing is right or wrong. Like whatever comes to your mind, all 5 people, just say it out. No need to consider that whether it is right or not. In design, there is nothing right or wrong. It can be one thing which can be properly applicable at one place, can be totally not applicable at different place, right? So in design nothing is right or wrong, just that the solutioning has to be right for the space that you have defined for, right? So yes, coming on to what would be the first thing that you will be doing if you have to create a smartphone for blind people. Arpita said you will be creating a braille script based touch like keyboard. Okay, what else? Himanshu, Survey, Shashi. Yes. गौरा.
ऑडियो चीज़ें उसमें ज़्यादा करनी होंगी ताकि मतलब मैं देखने से ज़्यादा सुन के सारी फंक्शन समझ में आए।
एक बार फिर से आप बोलोगे सुरभि, लाइक आपकी आवाज़ थोड़ी धीरे आ रही है.
हाँ जैसे कि हम कोई भी चीज फोन में करते हैं तो वो हम देख के करते हैं, पर
हम्म,
अगर जो ब्लाइंड पीपल है उनके लिए वो चीज ऑडियो में अगर कन्वर्ट हो जाए तो उनको वो चीज करने में इजी होगी विथ ब्रेनली कीबोर्ड।
ठीक है, दिस कैन बी वन पॉसिबल सॉल्यूशन, ये ऐसा एक पॉसिबल सॉल्यूशन हो सकता है। ठीक है, अभी तक जो दो आंसर्स मिले वो दोनों, लाइक यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट दोज आर मोस्टली द सॉल्यूशन पार्ट्स। हमने यहाँ पे मिस क्या किया, कोई बताएगा हमने मिस क्या किया यहाँ पे?
We
हम
have to ask the blind person what he or she wants in the phone.
exactly, that is the first thing that we have to do. We cannot jump on conclusion, we cannot start creating a solution without having a concern or without having a discussion with the blind person actually to create a solution, because we are not the blind people, right? We are there for helping them. So first of all we will go ahead and then we'll start to understand what is their take on things. Maybe because see, our world and their world is entirely different. What we might think that is the problem for them might not be the actual problem for them. हो सकता है कि हमें लगता है कि ऑडियो की उनको ज़रूरत है, but maybe that might not be the necessity that they're actually like they actually want. It might be the just feedback mechanisms that is there in the smartphones. Maybe haptics or vibrations can do the work instead of audio. Can be a possibility, right? ये तो हमारा assumption है ना कि ऑडियो बेस्ड होगा. Yes or no?
यस सर।
Yes. So first what we have to do is कि first हमें उनसे बात करनी है कि what is their requirement in terms of the smartphones, what are the things that they do in smartphones, what is the objective of them utilizing in smartphone, right? So that will lead us to creating any kind of solution, right? Because if we are creating, we will be creating mostly for ourselves, because we have not considered blind people, right? And the solution might fail, right? That is why we follow the design process to create something, or design thinking framework, or maybe 6D process, whatever process we are following, we are actually following to make sure whatever we are making complies to the requirement of the users, but not anything else, right? So that we have to consider, right? So whenever we say that okay, we want to understand the user, so it comes to the point that what kind of research we are going to do, right? So whenever we talk of user research, so there are primarily two kind of research methods. One is called quantitative research and second is called qualitative research, right? So I'll be starting with the qualitative research because this is what we are going to do right now, and then later on we'll be doing the quantitative research as well. So when we talk about qualitative research is also called the soft research, because it involves in understanding the deeper meaning of the requirements and the needs or the behavior of people, and this is carried forward with the help of conversations. We build out questions based on which we ask people, okay, those questions we ask to people, that what are you feeling, what is the thing that is affecting you, what are the things that you want, what are the things you don't want, right? Asking more open-ended questions so that they tell their personal things, or they tell personal related insights which has a quality in that, right? Which has a quality, because if let's say we all 6 people travel to maybe Delhi, okay, me, Sashi, Himanshu, Gaura, Surbhi, Arpita, from some place we live all we all live in different parts of the country, and we went to Delhi, okay, and then we roamed around in Delhi at different places at different times and different zones. So our everyone's story would be different, right? Everyone's experience would be different. Do we all agree on that point?
यस सर।
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So since we all have a different experience, so maybe for certain thing only, for a single thing only, we can have a different answers, right? And that is the quality of the experience that we are experiencing. Let's say we all went inside metro. We all purchase metro cards, but someone would have also purchased metro tokens, right? And they would have traveled. That can be also possibility. But how do you know that? How do you know that? And while doing those things, they would have associated experience with that, right? So whenever you do a qualitative research, you try to understand these experiences much better and in a deeper level, so that what was the thing that was happening during that process, what did you experience, what are the things that you like, what were the things that you did not like. So these are the quality insights that comes from the experience, and that is why this research method will be called as qualitative, right? And majorly when we talk about qualitative research, so different qualitative research methods will be shadowing, diary study, or like personal interviews that we are going to do for our research, or maybe contextual inquiry is one method. And yeah, so these are like some of the major kinds of qualitative research method that it is utilized. Now coming on to the other one, which is called as quantitative. So whenever we talk about quantitative research, it is more or less based on the specific data. So surveys are the best example for quantitative research, where we already build questions, we already build the options for the answers. Let's say I built a question that what are the things that you like in food, right? So for that it can be three options. Okay, I am a vegetarian, I'm a vegetarian, I'm a non-vegetarian, right? So I know all those answers. So quantitative research would help me to understand what amount of people are there who like vegetarian food, non-vegetarian food, and vegetarian food. Maybe some people can be Jain also. Some people can be other kind of like ISKCON followers will have a different kind of food. Different kind of people would come, right? But those if we are already knowing those answers and we are just trying to understand the number of people who are actually following it, that is a kind of research which is called as quantitative, right? And surveys are the best quantitative research methods, right? And these quantitative research methods are utilized when we have to take insights from a very larger section of people. Let's say we have to take insights from 2 lakh people or 20 lakh people. We would not go ahead with the qualitative research. We'll definitely go with the quantitative research, because it's not possible thing to interview 20 lakh people or maybe even 2 lakh people, or maybe like let's say even 20,000 people if we are talking about. It's not a possibility to record their insights and ask questions and then record them. It would take humongous amount of infrastructure requirement, costing to the company, and lot of things which are involved. So what companies do, they keep rolling out a survey. Maybe you all would have received some kind of survey from Swiggy or maybe Zomato or maybe some kind of application that you are using. Like they will just said, okay, we wanted to do a quick survey of your choices, something like that. Those services, like have you received any those kind of surveys? Anyone? Yes, anytime, anyone, have you received any surveys in your phone from any application?
Yes,
Yes, no?
yes, sir. Right.
Yeah. So those surveys are actually these quantitative research surveys only. So whatever answering that you will do, those will be utilized for the research part, right? And qualitative research, which is primarily the user interviews that it is taken, it is generally done even for the bigger companies. Like I am working in Microsoft, so if I have to do a qualitative research, I don't do a research on a very big section of people. So ideal size of researching for bigger companies also is maybe not more than 20 people. 20 people or 25 people is what we interview people for any product creation or doing research of any product. An ideal number of taking user interviews in an organization is 13. 13 is a right number of interviews that you should take to get a good insight on the things, right? But here I would not suggest you to take 13 interviews. If it is possible, you can do it. I would be more than happy to see insights from those 13 interviews. But because it is for the learning purpose, I would suggest you to at least interview 4 or 5 people for the research that you are going to do on the basis of the problem statement that you have selected, because that will give you a good insight to work upon, right? Are you all clear till this point? What are the different types of user research?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now there are different levels of user research. We went onto the type of user research, right? Now there are different levels of user research as well. So first is called the primary research, and second is called the secondary research. So primary research mostly deals with the direct communication with the users. Like if you're talking to someone, if you're talking to someone, or you are directly taking surveys or shadowing or asking particular things, and the interaction is direct to the user, that will be called as primary research. It might be quantitative or qualitative. The level of research is primary. Okay, whenever there is a direct connect between the user and you, right? What are the secondary kind of research? Secondary research is anything which is apart from the conversation part. Like primarily, secondary research would consist of browsing internet, reading research papers, or reading articles or research resources for gathering different kinds of knowledge uh, in context to the problem statement that you have selected, or the problem space that you are working on. So that will be called as secondary research. Got the idea? This is just a quick thing, like, to give you an idea what is primary and what is secondary research. So you always start with doing secondary research. So it is not suggested to do a primary research at the first part. It is always suggested to do a secondary research at the first point, and then after you got the insights or a theme based on the secondary research, you go ahead and try to do a validation based on the primary research. Got the idea? सबको समझ में आया?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Anyone? Does anyone have any questions? Here. Yes. No. Okay.
No, sir.
Okay, so let's have a look at what are the different UX research methodologies. So first and foremost research methodologies is the interviews, user interviews. So that you take one-on-one with the user. So the user interviews can be telephonic, it can be on WhatsApp as well, it can be on video call, and these all will be considered as interviews because you are asking direct questions to the user, and then you are getting answers from it as an insight, right? So this is the first kind and like most widely used kind of research methodology, right? One method of research, right? Other thing can be surveys and questionnaires, like surveys, the Google form surveys, or the questions with the help of Google Forms, or Jot, like Typeform is one platform with the help of which you can do the survey, and so many other platforms you might be knowing or you might found. The most prominent one is the Google Forms, with the help of which you can create the surveys and questionnaires. That is one kind of research method. Affinity, there's one more which is called as affinity mapping. So affinity mapping is something which we will be doing after we do the interviewing and the surveying of the people, right? So what does affinity map does is, affinity map deals with clustering of the information that you have got from the primary research, primary research, or maybe secondary research, whatever kind of research you have done. So it mainly deals with clustering that kind of information. So whenever there is a information, there would be group of information which will have similarities, like, and this is basically based on the cluster map. So cluster is basically relevant to the kind of information which is there on the research, right? Let's say like Arpita did research on health related issues, and Himanshu also did it, right? So they both got lot of insights, and eventually they found out, okay, these 6 7 insights look similar, so they grouped it together. Similarly in that way they found more 4 5 kind of insight which would look similar. So they grouped it together. So similarly, when you group the information that you have received in the form of clusters, that would lead to doing the affinity mapping, right? Affinity mapping is further divided to understand what kind of traits or what kind of behavior your user does, and it helps in analyzing the data and observation that you get from the primary research, right? Card sorting is one research UX research method that is used, but we will be utilizing it when we will be defining the problem, and after that when we have to sort the priority of the pain points, like what are the things that we have to address first for the user. That is what we'll be doing with the help of card sorting. So these are just the names. It is not like, don't consider it okay you have to read everything at once, and then we all will be using these all methods one by one, and then you'll be able to understand what does these methods mean, right? And creating of personas will be a very critical thing. Creating of personas will be a very critical thing that we'll be doing with the help of affinity mapping and the card sorting that we'll be doing. Based on this, we'll be creating the personas. So personas are actually the guidelines or the center point of the whole design process. So whenever a design process happens, so I'll take you through an example of what happens in Microsoft, in my team. So we do the research, and then after doing all the research we create personas. So personas are the references of the users for which the product is being created, okay? So let's say there are 100 of people that I interviewed or maybe I did survey on, but I cannot put all 100 people in the process, right? The user centered process that we discussed in previous class. We have to take the user in the process, but it is not possible to take 100 users in the process, right? So we create a persona relevant to those 100 people, and these personas are kind of primary persona, secondary persona, or proto personas. There the type of personas also we will be understanding what are the different kinds of personas which are there, and how do we create it, how do we take it into use, right? And at the last, which is there it is called experience map. So experience map is also called customer journey map, user journey map, experience journey map, or experience maps. So these all four names are of the same thing, which is called experience map. So simple, like in the most simple language, and most of the places you will be knowing this as a customer journey map. So customer journey map is actually a decoding of every sequence of event a user does to find out what are the pain points, what are the opportunity areas with the help of which we can create and define a new feature of an application. We can address to those issues, and we can take that into account to create a new kind of solution, right? So it is just to give an overview of it. And yeah, so that will be it from like today's session. So I will not ask you to like do a interview, so I'll be taking you through in the class. I'll be sharing you one file in which it is written how to actually just a second.